Hi everyone. Happy Thursday. I wanted to make a video to read the Three Little Pigs, the Wolf story out loud. I think some of us are like not going back and rereading it. And every single day, since it's now Thursday and we have a quiz today, we need to make sure that we're rereading both stories Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Some of you already have taken the quiz, and I can tell that some of us just did not go back to the text when we were answering the questions because the two stories are so different. And we did not think about the impact the weasel was making on the wolf and the pig's relationship. So only one of those stories had the weasel in it, right? And so I'm going to read out loud the Three Little Pigs, the Wolf story, stopping, helping with vocabulary, showing how to search for vocabulary if you can't use context clues to figure it out, going down to the glossary, and then I am going to put up another video of writing in full complete sentences and how to compare two stories. I know Mr. Berkey is doing the same thing, so you're going to get from both of us, and hopefully we can keep getting better. I think something that some of us are struggling with is typing and making sure that we are using capital letters and periods. And even though I put in my directions like race response, some of us are answering in one sentence responses. And so we know when we race a response, it's restate the question, answer the question, cite text evidence, and then you explain your answer. And so when on the quiz today, if you have not taken it, I strongly recommend rereading both stories, being able to have the text up while you're taking your quiz. And on top of that, if you need to pause and put the quiz down and go back and reread, please do. I would rather you do that than just take it and try to base it off of memory, because some of the questions are a little bit tricky, and I made them tricky on purpose because it's going to help me know that if you're going back to the text to reread and figure out what the difference is, because the wolf's motivation in both stories are completely different, right? We know what a character's motivation is, what a character wants, and so what the wolf wants in both stories is completely different. And Miss Liberi saw way too many scholars choosing that the wolf wanted the same thing in both stories. So I'm going to start reading right now. Make sure you follow along if you need to. There's some juicy vocabulary, especially in this version. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to talk about context clues, the glossary, and how to search for vocabulary words. We should all know how to do this based on literacy rotations with the book report. On computer time, you were able to look up words that you didn't know. And then on top of that, for research that we did with Mr. Berkey for the social studies projects, right? Okay, I'm going to start reading. Three Little Pigs, the Wolf's Story. Once upon a time, in a quiet country village, there lived three little pigs. They were the luckiest swine in the country. If I don't have the background knowledge of what swine is, I'm going to think, well, I know that the characters are pigs and they're being called the luckiest swine. So, if I still don't know, I'm going to go up. I can do definition of swine. And definition of swine's coming up. And definition is a pig, right? Okay, awesome. So I know swine means pig. They're the luckiest swine in the country. They're the luckiest pigs in the country. They had just inherited, bold word, enough money from their grandfather to build 3 new houses. So I know that they were able to build 3 new houses with money they received from their grandfather. If I don't know what inherited means, I know that it's a bolded word. I'm going to go down to the glossary. Received upon the death of someone. That's really sad. So the 3 little pigs, their grandpa passed away, and the grandfather left them enough money to build 3 houses. Wow, pretty nice to leave that much. Okay, the first little pig wanted a warm and cozy house that would help him to relax. He built his house out of straw, the warmest and most familiar material he knew. The second little pig loved to shock the neighbors. He picked sticks for materials and built a modern house like Frank Lloyd Wright. So Miss Liberi, in my background knowledge, I know who Frank Lloyd Wright is. I'm from Pittsburgh, and Frank Lloyd Wright is a famous architect who builds really unique modern homes and buildings. And there's a famous one that is right outside of Pittsburgh, where Miss Liberi's from, and people travel from all over the world to go see it. There's a running waterfall through it. It's made out of a large part is made out of glass in the middle of a forest. So I know that Frank Lloyd Wright, the author, is highlighting Frank Lloyd Wright, comparing him as because he's a famous architect who built modern homes. You can also use the search tool to look up Frank Lloyd Wright to add to your background knowledge. Okay, keep going. Okay, the third little pig, who planned for any imagined disaster, built a sturdy house of bricks and mortar. Not far off in the cold, damp forest lived a poor old wolf. Okay, so now we're getting introduced to the wolf's character. We know that the wolf is poor and old. Okay, he lived in a rotten hollow log and searched the forest for whatever he could find. He had no money, not a single penny, to build a house or plant a garden. Unlike most wolves, he was a vegetarian. Okay, so we know that he's old, we know that he's poor, and we know that he would like to build a house and plant a garden. Plants a garden because he's a vegetarian. I know what a vegetarian is because I actually have friends that are vegetarian. So that's in my background knowledge. But if you don't have that in your background knowledge, I'm going to go down and I'm going to look it up because it's a bolded word. I love this glossary. It helps me so much. Someone who eats only plant products and no meat. Okay, so the wolf does not eat meat. Pretty different than the typical Three Little Pigs story, right? So we know that this wolf only eats plants, right? So plants like vegetables and fruits. Really good to know so early on in the story. When winter arrived, it was extremely bitter and harsh. The wolf ate so little that he became weak and caught a terrible cold. Soon he was constantly sniffling and sneezing. He sneezed so hard that he blew dried leaves off the forest trees. I have never read a version where the wolf is sick. I've only read a version that the wolf is trying to blow houses down. I only know that one version that has mentioned that the wolf is old, cold, and sick and developed a cold. Okay. The sickly wolf left the forest in search of food and shelter. He sniffled and sneezed as he traveled down the road. Achoo! Achoo! With each sneeze, the snow whirled into a white cloud around his frost-bitten ears. Frostbitten. Ooh. Frostbitten. Okay, I'm going to cross-check. So I'm going to look at the illustration. Okay, so I know that it looks like snow is all over the ground. The snow whirled into a white cloud around his frostbitten ears is in that text. His ears, and I know that snow is pretty cold. What does frostbitten mean? If I still don't know using the context clues, frostbitten, injured from exposure to freezing cold. Okay, so his ears are freezing. He now has frostbitten ears. After walking for several hours, the old wolf came upon the quaint village where the three little pigs lived. Being so very cold and so very hungry, he hurried to the nearest house as fast as his stiff body could carry him. I'm going to still go down back to the glossary. This glossary is helping me out so much. Looking old-fashioned. Okay, it's like an old-fashioned little village. He knocked on the straw door. He hoped that whoever lived there would take pity on him and let him come inside. Before the timid little pig could reach the door, the wolf began to sneeze and sneeze. To the wolf's surprise, he sneezed so hard that he blew the straw house apart. So I want you to think about it. Usually in the Three Little Pigs stories, it's like the big bad wolf, and he huffed and he puffed. I want to reread this sentence. To the wolf's surprise, he sneezed so hard that he blew the straw house apart. Stop right there and think. Is he trying to blow these houses down? What is his motivation? What does he want? I know he's old, he's cold, he has frostbitten ears,